YouTube. Here we are again, man. Here we are again. ST with King, another episode. Not so much as a podcast. This is more about a video. We're just gonna do a little video about the Bears outlook of the season, what I'm expecting, my predictions, and just life as a Bears fan at this very moment. For those who don't know, Keontae. Here I am, another episode. I kind of struggled to make this video. As a Bears fan, you want to be able to always. I feel like this video wasn't do justice, or I feel like it wasn't enough if I made this video after the Bears, or when the Bears keep on losing. I think that it's best to make a video when you can take away a bright spot away from a team, rather than just going into all the negatives and everything that's going on with it. I always like to bring some positivity into it. Excuse me. So basically, making this video after week 5 in the NFL this week. This is being made on the Sunday of week 5. Obviously after the Bears won their first game on Thursday Night Football. And I struggled. Like I said, I struggled to make this video because I would have made it on Monday or the following days after the week 4 loss to Denver, because there was something to take away from it. But then I when you see that the Bears are going to play on Thursday, I thought that it would be better to make this video after that game, because I knew there was a bright spot to take away from after the Denver Broncos game where the Bears lost 31-28. But it was, why not just give it another game just to have more things to talk about? And that's what we're going to do. So, obviously as a Bears fan, grew up here, and since I started watching football, I've loved the Bears. This season we were coming into with a lot of hype. Not necessarily, Bears fans, we're not delusional. We're not going to be here and tell you that, the Bears are going to win the Super Bowl this year. We have more of the mindset of okay, the Bears are going to be a good team this year. A team that can take you out, essentially. Or a team that, is going to be making some noise this year. And that's what we kind of anticipate, You look into the season, going into it, year 3 for Justin Fields, year 2 under Matt Eberflus and Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator, and year 2 under Ryan Poles, the GM of the Bears as well. A lot of positive outlooks to think about, honestly. If we talk about the offseason, obviously the Bears traded away their first overall pick to Carolina, bringing in DJ Moore from Carolina. DJ Moore is a number 1 wide receiver. And typically in the NFL, we've seen this trend of year 3 quarterbacks get them a number 1 wide receiver, and you kind of see the field kind of skyrocket. That's kind of like where the hype comes into play. If you talk about sports shows and everything, that's what they were talking about when it came to the Bears this upcoming season. We've seen it in the past. We've seen Josh Allen get Stephon Diggs year 3. We've seen a Jalen Hurts get a wide receiver and Jaylen Brown year 3 as well. Then we've also seen a Tua Tagovailoa get a Tyreek Hill year 3. So, you see typically when this kind of trend happens in NFL, you start to see a big number of results. And that's what a lot of the expectations were coming into this season for the Chicago Bears. Obviously, with that trade bringing over DJ Moore, the Bears trade back essentially to get the number 9 pick that they end up trading for the number 10 pick, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it the 9th? I think it was the 9th pick. The Bears draft right tackle from Tennessee, Darnell Wright, who's without question the best offensive lineman in the draft this year. Without question. I think that goes without saying. He's the best offensive lineman in the draft this year, based on the ability to not just pass protect, but the runnings, the run blocking, the run block finesse, and the run block power as well. And, Paris Johnson Jr. is great, but he's more of a known of it as a pass protector, left tackle. Now you are making a big change by not grabbing. Obviously, Paris Johnson got drafted before Darnell Wright, but Darnell Wright had the better numbers coming out of college, obviously. And maybe two different positions: right tackle, left tackle. Obviously, the left tackle is the blind side for the quarterback, but the right tackle is usually that tackle that's more in depth in everything. A lot more to do in their position because typically that side you can do more because that's the quarterback's side that he's typically seeing. He's looking from right to left a lot, being a right-handed quarterback. Now, obviously, then you go to free agency, where we transition to the Bears signing a couple of good players. Obviously, the biggest name was Tremaine Edmonds and T.J. Edwards on the linebacker side of the field, obviously of the defense, but linebacker side. So that second level was being shored up, you could say. And then obviously you bring in Nate Davis, right guard from Tennessee. Bring him in. Now the right side of your offensive line is shored up. And you see typically the notion of, okay, so the Bears, they're going for offensive line work. Obviously, they got the receiver. Then you see the second level of the defense get shored up a lot. But the biggest hole, without question, definitely is the defensive line. Nobody quite essentially brought over, like we signed Yannick Ngakoue to a last-minute deal before the season started or before training camp started. Bring him over. He's alright. He's okay. He's not the greatest pass rusher in the world, but he can get you a couple numbers depending on how much pressure he's getting. Obviously, had a couple good years, and he played for Baltimore. And then that's where he kind of played pretty good at. No, he started in Jacksonville. That's where he made his name because he was playing alongside Calais Campbell. Back when the Jags had that 2017 defense where they went to or was it 2017 or was it 2018 if I'm not mistaken, where the Jacksonville Jaguars led by Blake Bortles went to the fucking AFC Championship and nearly took Tom Brady out. That was crazy. That one was a crazy one. That was a crazy year. But that's where Yannick Ngakoue started off his career at. Transition to Baltimore, goes to the Colts, to the Raiders, or was it the Raiders then the Colts, and now he's in Chicago. Not a big name defensive line, but anybody who's watched NFL over the past 7 or so years knows about Yannick Ngakoue. He's a solid pass rusher. Excuse me, allergies kind of kicking in a little bit. So you see before the season starts of playing actual games, because I do deep dives into these things, and I'm looking at the Bears team. It's like, okay, not the best team on paper, honestly. Obviously, my dream is that they get a trade for a better pass rusher to start the year, or defensive lineman, someone that holds down, because they signed a couple of small pieces, but people who made an impact based off of the person they were alongside on defensive line getting double teamed. So not anybody that is people that probably had eight sacks in the previous year or something based on who they were being pass rushed with and everything. Nothing too crazy, obviously, but solid team essentially. So going into the year, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a delusional person. I'm not the Bears are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm the Bears have a chance to make the playoffs. The NFC is the weaker conference, obviously, because there's not as many game-changing quarterbacks, such as in the AFC, where you have Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and who else? Aaron Rodgers, obviously. Going into the season, obviously. So we're just in the NFC, not as many quarterbacks that are gonna wreck the game or take over the game as much. Now, then I look into it, so I'm okay, the offense has some potential, the defense has less potential, but they'll be okay, at least from what we think, at least. So you go into the first game. I'm looking at it from the perspective as a Bears fan of do the Bears, how are the Bears going to attack this year? Are we going to rely on Justin Fields as a runner of the running the ball as a quarterback, or are we going to look at Justin Fields as are we going to push for him to be a passer? Because ideally, I would love a quarterback that runs when he has to, but he's a pocket presence quarterback. Justin Fields coming out of college at Ohio State was a passing quarterback, not a running quarterback of the football. No, he was a passing quarterback. And that's so important to me that I think that you have to think about. So, game against the Packers, lose that game 38-20, but I was very impressed to see that, okay, Justin Fields is going to be attacking the other team as a passer, not as many QB design runs. QB design runs are nice, but you don't want your quarterback to be running the ball the entire game. Like, if you're a fantasy guy, maybe, but you want your quarterback to be passing the ball. Like, as a genuine fan of the team, like, everybody loves Lamar Jackson, but you want Lamar to be passing the ball because he's been a running threat for so long that you see him get injured the past 2 years, and it takes the whole Baltimore Ravens out of the game or out of the season, essentially. Whew, sorry about that. So then so after that game, I'm like, okay, Justin Fields, they're attacking the ball as passing. Like, I'm looking at the play calling, and it's like, okay, it just seems like nobody is familiar quite with the system yet, or they're familiar with it, but it just wasn't working out necessarily compared to, or at least it was like an ill preparation for the Packers defense, which is a hard thing to do. But coming into the first game of the season, you don't necessarily know how the other team's defense is going to be structured. You have an idea based on coaching tendencies or the past year and whoever their players are, but you can never hit it on the hay. And that's what it felt like that week versus Green Bay. Now, if we talk about the defense, obviously I have a problem with the defense because it's like, okay, you can't stop the run. That's where my defensive lineman necessity comes into play, because it's like the Packers, they weren't passing happy with the ball. They were running the ball like down the field nonstop, it felt like. And that's when you think about Chicago Bears teams is based on stopping the run. Like, that's an identity of the Bears. Like, if you look at any good season the Bears have had, it's been a year where the run threat is non-existent. Like, the Bears defense clamps that shit down. So you see a team running the ball essentially. But it was some good things to take away from that game. Obviously, like, it was a loss, but I'm looking at it from the perspective, okay, I see what the Bears are trying to do here. You go into next week, and this is where the play calling was just abysmal. Not only was it that team was against the Buccaneers, a team that, we'll see what they do the rest of this year. But who knows for sure, like, if they're not a top end threat on top of the NFC conference, they're okay, but they're gonna be one of those teams that might win their division, but it's a weaker division, obviously. Baker Mayfield led Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Nothing against them. Was just we just call it what we see. So that game comes down to the wire a lot more than the score said, obviously, because the Bears lost by double digits, lost by 2 scores that game. But it all happened. It dissolved in the fourth quarter, you could say, because I watch all the games through and through, at least the Bears games, and I saw a offense play call offensively game that was just very, how do you say it? Like, just wasn't. It was predicated on same play, same concept, essentially, which is good because you obviously you want those plays to be catered to the team's strengths, but you have to mix it up. Honestly, that play where you run a screen pass one play and you run the exact same screen pass the next play, or because, the first time it gets called back because of a penalty, you try to run that same play again, and then the defensive lineman just jumps back. He's like, oh, this is the same play. I'm just going to act like I'm blitzing, and I'm going to jump off because I see the running back coming out of the backfield, but he's going through the offensive line. This is going to be a screen pass again. So as defensive lineman Shaq Barrett, he says, I'm just going to step back and get the interception and then take it in for 6. And that's the thing. You have to be different with your play calling. Call plays to the team's strengths, but you have to be different. You can't let a defense just recognize exactly what you're going to do. And then you look into the defense, the Bears defense that game, a lot of the same play calls. There is nothing wrong with having a go-to play on defense, a go-to scheme in terms of zone coverage, but you better believe it that if you better know how to defend the weak spots in those zones. You have a lot of, watching the Bears games, we run a lot of Tampa 2, a lot of cover 2 shell defenses where you have four down defensive linemen rushing. All the linebackers or the second level is spread across the middle of the field. One in the middle, the 2 outside backers are aiming for the sides, and then 2 safeties over the top. Sometimes you can throw a nickel back in there, have 2 actual linebackers. You have your nickel corner in there. Maybe he does something. Maybe he's in the play as well. But the issue with it isn't necessarily that you call that play, but it's just the fact that you need to be able to defend it. Like, you need to be able to play actual good defense using that play. And this showed itself to the most prominent abilities the next week going against Kansas City, where Kansas City just put a number on us. They went up 41-0, and then they said, okay, garbage time, you guys can go do your thing. And it's Patrick Mahomes that tore the defense up, but it goes a lot to say that if you're going to run the same play, you better be able to defend the weak spots. Patrick Mahomes, because the weak spots in the cover 2 shell are, if the linebackers back up far enough, you can hit right there at the linebackers, right at that second level if the linebackers play too far back. And then obviously the weak spots of you could run corner routes basically under the safety, but outside of the outside linebackers, because the 2 cornerbacks in the cover 2 show, they're playing low. And Patrick Mahomes just tore us up that day. Like, he could have had way more yards. Like, remember, that's the same week that Miami scored 70. Patrick Mahomes had 41 at the end of the third quarter, which is always something scary. But, obviously, Kansas City, classy organization, they're not going to run up the points like that, especially if there's no reason to. Obviously the Bears, there's no trash talking or nothing like that going on. But, when you see a defense get mauled like that, in terms of the quarterback saying that, oh, you're going to run the same play, I'm going to hit the same 3 spots on the field where I know you're going to leave space open. And that's the disadvantage of running that. Although one could say, there was a lot going on that week for the Bears, because that was the week that Alan Williams had to resign as the defensive coordinator. Sorry about all the nose sniffles. But, that's the same week that Alan Williams resigned as defensive coordinator. And also, you had like a lot of like questions coming into play, because you had the media interview with Justin Fields where he says that he was playing robotic and he thinks that it could be coaching, but then he clarifies and saying that it's not necessarily that it's coaching, just the offensive scheme isn't developing the way that you see it out on the field, that you do in practice, essentially. And, you have a lot of questions. Then obviously we don't want to get into all the whole Taylor Swift thing. That's a topic for another time, but that was the first game Taylor Swift was at. A lot of eyes on it. So, the Chiefs are going to be playing good that game. And it's just a lot that goes into it. But nonetheless, Bears lose that game 41-10, all points coming in at the end of the fourth quarter in garbage time, where it's just not the same. It's not the same in terms of like the mentality or the success that you have envisioned for the Bears that year. Like, obviously Kansas City will beat anybody, but it's the difference between getting blown out and getting whooped. And that's what the Bears got whooped that day on Sunday at Arrowhead Stadium. Nonetheless, you know, you go into week 4, you have the Chase Claypool comments. The team says Chase don't even show up to the game. And then, you know, the Bears offense looked really nice that first half against Denver. 21-7. I'll take that. I'm going up into the first half. Or was it 28-7? I think. Or 21-7, 28-7. Same thing. But the lead was 28-7. The lead was 28-7 going into half. And the Bears blow that lead. Not necessarily because the offense taking their gas off the pedal or something, but obviously halftime adjustments are a real thing in any sport. In any sport, no matter what you say. I remember back when I used to play basketball in high school, halftime adjustments are real. Because at that point you get to see what's going on in the game, and now you can apply it to some concepts that you've practiced all the time. So when Denver came back, not necessarily a problem with it, because, you know, obviously, like, Russell Wilson is a Pro Bowl quarterback. He knows how to carve up a defense without question. But it's still the fact of, like, you got to be able to do something. But halftime adjustments are a thing. So, you know, I fully expected Denver to come out aggressive and able to put points on the board. That just isn't. It rarely happens in the NFL where a team doesn't put up points. It's not like it's hard to see a shutout in the NFL. It's rare. It's really rare. But the issue that I had with it was the play calling down the stretch where, you know, in the fourth quarter, obviously, like, we were coming off the play where Justin Fields, like, fumbled because he was trying to get ready to pass or throw the ball out of bounds, but then he gets stripped while he's getting tackled in the backfield. It's a fumble that happens, but it's like, it's not something that you're really pissed off about, because that's football. It fucking happens, honestly. But nonetheless, you will have the Bears where fourth down, it's like 4th and 1. The Bears say, we're going to go for it. Well, first off, the game is going in this manner of where the Bears decided, hey, we're going to try to get Denver to jump off sides because we're in field goal range, but, you know, we're trying to milk as much clock as possible, which is what football is. So they try to fake them. They try to get Denver jump off sides, just like faking the snap, essentially. Call a timeout, and they say, okay, we're in field goal range, but we're still going to go for it because we see how Denver, I guess it's one of those things where they see Denver's playing really good this half, so we should keep our foot on the pedal. But my issue with it is the play call itself. You see, when you go under center, and when you want to run the ball, right? And you want to run the ball from under center, you can either go into a single back set or a I-form set or a strong set, where it basically is it's a 2 running back set, or 2 fullback and a running back, however you please to call it. But, you know, so ideally, if you want to run the ball, it's 4th and 1, and you want to run the ball, why not run the ball with 2 running backs compared to 1? And that's what happened. The Bears said, okay, we're going to go under center, and we're going to run the ball with 1 running back and hope that the blocking up front is good enough to take your running back 1 yard. The issue with it is that if you're playing against a defense and they know you're going to run the ball and you're not overwhelming them in terms of, like, blocking, that defense is going to come down and tackle you. They're going to get inside, they're going to load the box, and they're going to tackle you. Now, if you were telling me that the Bears say, hey, we're going to go for it and we're going to QB sneak it from 4th and 1, I'm with you. You know, because at that point, most of the time going into QB sneak formation, you have the offensive line, obviously, but you have people in the backfield that are pushing the quarterback forward. And maybe that's what Denver was expecting, was a quarterback sneak. But when you see single back, you mean, okay, play action or run, you know? And that's the issue, one could say, honestly. Because why run the ball with one person compared to running the ball with two running backs on the field? And obviously, Denver gets a stop. Denver goes down the field, gets a field goal. Bears get the ball back with a little bit of time. Justin Fields throws the ball, throws an interception, target to Cole Kmet. But on that play, not necessarily Justin Fields' fault. One could say just miscommunication from the receiver or the tight end and the quarterback. Because looking back on that play, Justin Fields, he throws the ball underneath, thinking that Cole wasn't going to continue to go up the field. Obviously, Cole Kmet thinking that he's so essentially. What I've kind of figured from that play call itself, Cole Kmet was supposed to keep going up the field, but Justin Fields saw inside leverage and said, hey, my tight end can make that play. Cole Kmet says, I'm going to still run the play the way that it was called. And that's where the miscommunication came into play, because when Cole Kmet run up top of his route, he motioned underneath, but really he was going up the field. Cole Kmet just motioned underneath because that's where the receiver gave him the space to make the play at. Or not the receiver, the defensive back gave him room to make the play at. But nonetheless, Cole Kmet and Justin Fields don't connect. It ends up being an interception. Chicago loses that game, 31-28. But Justin Fields played amazing football. He threw for 4 tutties and 335 yards. A pick and a fumble loss, but still a great game from a quarterback. And he also completed like 70% of his passes too. Now, the thing is, you go into that game, and I was planning on making the video after that game because there was a lot to take away from. There was some good to take away from. But then, Thursday night comes around, and everyone is like, okay, can the Bears play that good, or can the offense play that good again? And just like the Denver game when the Bears came out aggressive against the Commanders on Thursday Night Football. And without question, obviously this time defense plays a little bit better, which is what you need in NFL. You need the defense to play good, and then the offense itself played amazing, honestly. You look at the final stat lines for a lot of people. Justin Fields had 265, if I'm not mistaken, 4 tutties, 1 to Cole Kmet, 3 tutties for DJ Moore, and 230 yards, 8 catches, 230, 10 targets, 3 touchdowns. Absolutely amazing. Great game. DJ Moore played the best game of his career, obviously. Went for a hat trick and 230. You can't get better than that at a wide receiver for a game, at least. Obviously, there's going to be games where receivers... I think the last time someone had 300 yards was Julio Jones. I think it was 2016, 2017. Julio had 300 yards for 3 touchdowns. I was like, oh God. That was a game against the Panthers the Falcons had. Whew. That game still gives you a little bit of nightmares because it's how good that game was from Julio. Nonetheless, the defense played good. The defense got 5 sacks that day. The defense had 2 sacks all season in the first 4 games. The defense got 5 sacks on Thursday night. And, obviously it brings the question, did the Commanders take the money? But no. That defense the Commanders has is real. They don't take nights off, Chase Young was wreaking havoc on the field. Obviously, he played with Justin Fields, so Justin Fields knows some of his tendencies on where Chase Young is going to come from. Chase Young ended up with a few sacks. It's not like the defense didn't play. Offense played pretty good too, but obviously the defense that the Bears had that game broke them down, obviously, which is what you want to see from the Bears. And that's where the bright spot comes into play. Chicago ends a 14-game losing streak stretching back to last year. And, everyone looks at the Bears now. It's like, okay, the Bears, they can, if they play consistent enough, they can really make some noise. Not no noise in terms of like going to win the fucking championship or going to the championship game, but could make it to the first round. Which is what a lot of Bears fans coming into the year had the expectations of. Bears can make the playoffs. They might be the 7th seed, maybe the 6th seed or something, but now there's that extra playoff spot. The Bears could do it. The Bears could do it. Now, gravy so we might have to play a San Fran or a Philadelphia in the first round, but it still is a great starting point without question. So that brings into play. What's the outlook a Bears fan has for the rest of the season? I don't know. That's obviously my biggest. You never know for sure. Now the thing is, obviously, I don't want the Bears to start tanking. I don't. Caleb Williams is nice. I saw his game last night against Arizona, where this man went straight beast mode essentially in all those overtimes. And there was one play call where the final 2-point conversion where Caleb Williams says, or whoever called the fucking play, they moved the offensive line or they moved most of their people on the field to the left side of the field. And Caleb Williams has probably about 4 people in front of him, and he still snaps the ball, obviously, over the middle of the field. And Caleb Williams literally just fucking said, all right, there's 2 routes that he has to look at, see if they get open. And he says, no, what, fuck it, I'm just going to run in. And one of the best play calls I've seen. So, Caleb Williams in the Chicago Bears uniform would be nice. But I think that if Justin Fields keeps on playing the way that he plays, obviously, there's no need to settle for a new quarterback, obviously. And the thing is, the Bears, they have Carolina's first-round draft pick and theirs still. And Carolina doesn't look like they're going to be able to do much this year because even though they have Bryce Young, there is not much around him at all. The defense, not so much. Nothing pretty much there. They have a few pieces, Brian Burns. I think they have Von Bell back there now. But the defense doesn't really have a lot of juice in them on that side of the field. And obviously, the wide receiver room there isn't all that. They have Adam Thielen, Jonathan Mingo, a rookie that they have. And is DJ Shark playing there too, I think? I think so. So not much in Carolina that they can do that. I don't think they're going to be able to win many games here. I don't see Carolina winning more than 3 games this year. Maybe not even 2, honestly. So that means that it's likely that they might have the first overall pick, which is going to go to Chicago based on the trade they had last year at the draft. And I really do think that the Bears shouldn't go for Caleb Williams. Because maybe the Panthers give them the first pick, maybe the Panthers give them the 3rd pick. I don't know, but it's gonna be a top 5 pick from the looks of it. And I think that the Bears, to finish out this year, I think the Bears can squeeze in about 9 wins. I know that's a lot to ask, obviously starting off 0-4, but I think that 7 to 9 wins is very promising, honestly. If the offense plays the way that it's played over the past 2 games, why not? Why not? Because all you need to even do, because the defense is a problem. I would recommend, if I'm the Bears, I would recommend trading our first-round pick for any defensive lineman that is on the trade block right now. If Chase, hell with it. Chase Young, I believe that he is on the trading block right now. I would call Washington and say, hey, I'm sorry we beat you. If I'm Ryan Poles, I call Washington today and I say, hey, I'm sorry we beat y'all Thursday night. I really am. But how would you feel about getting a first-round draft pick this year? An additional one. Washington has no choice but to listen at least. And we say, hey, we will give you Chase Young this year. If you give us Chase Young, we will give you the first-round pick, our first-round pick. I would do that just to get the defense a little bit better. That's what you want. That is what you want, honestly. I think a first round pick which should do that, honestly. If you can get any defensive lineman that I think that has the potential, that has the great a potential to be a great pass rusher, I would trade for him. Not any old one. I think it should be a young guy without question. Now, what does that do? I think that that incentivizes a Washington team to be like, hey, if the Bears don't do as well this season, we have their first round draft pick, which may result in a quarterback. You know, I think Shedeur Sanders is staying at Colorado for another year. I saw a report about that. So maybe not Shedeur Sanders or something, but Drake May is still a viable option. To hell with it. Even Caleb Williams might still be a viable option. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm calling any team that has a star pass rusher that is young. Any big time pass rusher that is under the age of 26. Because you want a team, if you want a defense, you need to have a pass rusher, honestly. Somebody that can disrupt the pass game or disrupt the run game. You need one of those on your team. And I think that the Bears should trade the one that they own, the one that isn't Carolina's. They need to trade their first round draft pick for one. Or if you want to trade the pick that Carolina has to get a combo of pass rushers, why not that too? You know, obviously, I think that whatever draft pick they don't hold on to, I think the Bears should aim to get Marvin Harrison Jr. But at the same time, I don't think that there's any, like, if there's a big time pass rusher in the draft, I would say to do that. But I don't think that there's a top 5 one this year. Not like a Will Anderson or or who was another pass rusher that was been taken over the past couple years, like a Chase Young who was drafted 2nd overall, you know, stuff like that. So I would, or Chase Young drafted 3rd. Yeah, I can't even remember. I think he was drafted 2nd if I'm not mistaken. He was drafted number 2 after Joe Burrow that year. So I would if I'm the Bears, I'm looking at trade value from draft picks to get a pass rusher. Nonetheless, I do think the Bears could win 7 to 9 games this year. I think that it's potential that they could squeeze into the playoffs, which is a very high asterisk. But in the NFL, we see teams turn the team around so often. A pass rush, an in-season trade for a pass rush can do that for the Bears without question. And I just think it's a good possibility, honestly. I really do. I don't know who's all on the trade block, honestly, but I'm looking. If I'm Ryan Poles, I'm looking, man, because the defensive line needs help. And why not trade one first round draft pick to get one that you could put under contract for 4 or 5 years, and say, hey, go get them, because you know that the Bears' defensive line has nobody else. It feels like. In terms of coaching, I will be honest with you. I did want Eberflus gone, to be fired from coaching after the Broncos game because of the play calls that he allowed down the stretch. But at the same time, I watched the post game celebration with the Bears, and I can see that Eberflus does have that locker room. So it's like, do you give Eberflus another chance after a year? I think so. Because when a coach has the locker room, that it goes a long way. Now, my biggest question of all time is, how in the hell is Ryan Poles, he's a scout for Kansas City, how in the hell does he not hire Eric Bieniemy as his first coach? He hired Eberflus, which is a very concerning question for me. Because Eric Bieniemy interviewed for the Bears job. Why the hell did he not get hired by Ryan Poles with Justin Fields already in town? It's very strange. It's very strange. But I do think that if the Bears do an in-season trade for a pass rusher that is a Pro Bowl pass rusher, I think that the Bears could really make the playoffs. It's a long season, but we see teams turn their team around mid-season all the time. The trade deadline is 3 weeks away. 3 weeks, is it 4 weeks away? The trade deadline is 3 weeks away. So, it's a lot of time, but it's enough time to make that decision if you really want to make it. Because if I'm the Bears, I don't see, I see literally one issue long term. You have the development projects of the secondary. And I think that the Bears, you can go out and sign a free agent cornerback or a free agent free safety or strong safety, whichever position Eddie Jackson isn't playing. I think that that's a very viable thing to do. I think that's easier to find than a generational pass rusher. And I think that the Bears can do it. I really do. I really do think the Bears can do it. So it's one of those why not moves that the Bears should make. Nonetheless, Justin Fields playing for the rest of the year, if he continues to put up games where he passes for 250 and 3 touchdowns, he will silence the rest of the critics that are out there, because most of those critics have went silent based on his last 2 games, because that the game against the Broncos wasn't necessarily his fault. Yeah, he threw an interception at the end of the game, but let's be realistic. The defense gave up a 21-point lead. That's not Justin Fields' fault. If you're asking a quarterback to score over 28 points is a big ask. Not every quarterback is going to be able to do that every game. But if you can manage 24 points with with a defense that can stop the other team at 17, that's good. But putting up 24 points is a very valuable thing in the NFL. There's going to be games where it's high scoring, and obviously that means that the defense isn't on the strong side, or that there is a weak point in the defense that you're facing if you're putting up over 30 points. But if Justin Fields can just get 3 touchdowns a game, 250, 275 yards, all of those critics are going to go silent, because that's a franchise quarterback right there. And whether anybody wants to admit it right now or not, Justin Fields is playing some good football. Once he puts it together, there's not too many quarterbacks that you're going to say is better than Justin Fields. Now, on the bright side, I see a lot of good development on the offense. Darnell Wright is going to be a great right tackle for a long time. Obviously, you don't have to worry about his contract quite yet, but Darnell Wright is going to be one hell of a right tackle. And it's rare to find good right tackles, I'll tell you that. I love what Cole Kmet is doing this year. This man has 3 touchdowns over the past 6 days. He has 3 tutties over the past 6 days at the tight end spot. He's going to be a top 5 tight end by the end of this year, I think. For people that actually recognize it, he's going to be a top 5. Because being at his height and being the threat that he is as a jump ball machine, the last tight end that I seen that was that big of a threat, and he's also great in the run blocking. Oh my God, Cole Kmet is great at run blocking. The last tight end that I see that was this good at what he does, I would have to say, in terms of height, I think that you could really say Gronk, because Gronk was a jump ball machine. You better not single coverage him. Don't single coverage Gronk. So he's a jump ball machine, and he's great at run blocking. I'm not saying Cole Kmet is Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski is one of one in terms of the tight end spot. Not the best tight end ever, or maybe some could argue that, but Gronk was a great tight end for his time being. Great in the run scheme, but also great at getting those short routes and turning those short routes into a deep ball and being able to find a hole in the defense. I think that as long as Justin and Cole have that mindset, Cole Kmet can be a top 5 tight end in the game of football. He's getting he's playing like it's his contract year, so he's playing for a good contract. Don't pay him the most money. I think that he's content without that. But I think that Cole Kmet is going to be one, because people aren't talking about him yet, but they're going to talk about him soon, which is great for him. Besides that, trying to just think okay, obviously DJ Moore, he's going to get a good contract soon from the Bears. He's number 1 wide receiver. I heard somebody on the broadcast say that DJ Moore just earned himself a trip to the Pro Bowl with that performance. DJ Moore is already a number 1 receiver, but when you go for 230 and 3 tutties, It's not many wide receivers that have that career of a game. There's wide receivers that have the hat trick game, but going for 230, and only doing it on 8 catches is even better for DJ Moore. So, and Justin Fields in connection to DJ Moore has been spot on. He has perfect passer rating, passing the ball to DJ Moore, which is not something that says, it's not a number that is like blows your mind, but it's like, okay, it falls back to that preseason speculation of how good Justin Fields would be when he gets a number 1 wide receiver. Those are numbers that you see from Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, from Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown to Tua to Tyreek, stuff like that. You see those numbers at that moment. And I think that the Bears offense, it's there, man. It's there, man. Like I said, the Bears put up 28 points a game, it's not many teams that are going to be able to stop that. So, obviously, the running backs, 4 of them go down in the game against the Commanders, so that is very concerning. And it's like, how much does that mess along with the scheme of things? It's going to turn into a pass-happy offense. All Justin Fields has to do, just spread the ball, get some touches to everybody, make sure everybody's happy, man. Darnell Mooney, make sure he's happy. Cole Kmet, make sure he's happy. Get the ball to Equanimeous St. Brown. He's gonna be happy. He's a good wide receiver. And that's the thing. Just keep the offense going, man. What I love seeing from the Bears is the aggression this year from the past 2 games. Let's throw this ball down the field. Let's remind the league that we have a good offense. And that's going to take the Bears a long way, because putting up 28 points is not easy in the NFL. But if you can put up 28 points a game, 27, 24 points a game, really 24 points a game is the most ideal thing from a franchise quarterback. Put up 24 points a game, and you'll see. Besides that, just biggest thing, just, as a Bears fan, you always want to see the Bears do good, but you have to be critical of them. You can't be delusional to the mistakes that the Bears have, or the downsides of it. Excuse me. But nonetheless, without further ado, I guess this is a Bears podcast, I guess, right? Nonetheless, bear the fuck down, honestly. This season is it's trending upwards. Obviously, please don't give us another losing streak. Please. Been through enough of those. But I think the Bears can do something this year. I think they can make it to the playoffs. Get an in-season trade. We're there, man. We're there. The offensive line played good. When the offensive line, the combo of, if you can keep Tevin Jenkins healthy. Tevin Jenkins is a good player. You can keep Tevin Jenkins healthy. I think you can put him at left tackle, Cody Whitehair at guard, Lucas Patrick at center, Nate Davis at right guard, Darnell Wright at right tackle. I think that offensive line can get you down the field, man. It really can. I know that Tevin Jenkins hasn't played much of left tackle, but I think that the versatility he has, I think he can do it. He can do it, man. Without further ado, signing off. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching, listening, however you choose to watch this episode of a podcast. Just a big thank you. And I'll see you guys soon.